to be the first speaker of today as your Sergeant at Arms. And to tell you a little bit about BKC Fireflies, we are a small club. We're so small that we call ourselves the small wonder of District 98. Now, despite being the small wonder, we've actually had some big impact on District 98. Like I said, we were formed in 2019, mid 2019, August 2019, I believe. And after that, in each and every one of those years, we've gone ahead and we've won the championship either at the district level twice or at the division level, which is one level less than the district in each and every one of those 4 years. Case in point, Eloquence 2023, just this year. We won the district trophy for international speech contest, and we were there on the podium for every single contest that was out by District 98. Some things about BKC Fireflies, because we are a small club, we have about 16 members as on date. We are able to provide one-on-one mentoring for everyone. We go beyond the Toastmasters curriculum. Toastmasters will not be effective for you unless you manage to use it in your real life to your personal growth. And that's something that we do. So we have word games, vocabularies, we have workshops on vocal variety, body language, every single thing. In fact, the presiding officer, that's the newest member that we have. He's just 4 years old. The, the presiding officer will be talking about Super September. It's an initiative that we've been having for the last 4 years, something that we're promoting a lot from this year onwards. As Sergeant at Arms, it's my duty to lay down the rules and regulations of the meeting, the don'ts and don'ts of the meeting. Number one, don't switch on your mic unless you're called to speak. In other words, stay muted. Number two, don't switch off your camera unless asked. We'd love to see your faces. And we say that because there has been a recent spate of Zoom bombings. Unknown people come up and they do all sorts of weird things. And it's a distraction, not to mention a nuisance. So we like to talk to people. We like to see whom we're speaking to. Number three, as per Toastmasters guidelines, District 98 guidelines, you please feel free to speak. Please feel free to speak on every single topic under the sun, except for 3 topics that kind of have, radical opinions from people. That is, number 1, politics. Number 2, sex. Number 3, religion. Apart from that, everything is fair game. It's also my duty to call out the mission statement of Toastmasters Club. And let me just read it out because I always fumble when I'm trying to say that by heart. The mission of any Toastmasters Club is to provide a supportive and positive learning experience where members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. And some of us, being part of BKC Fireflies, can attest to every single one of those statements. On that note, let me hand over the meeting to a presiding officer for the day, who is a multitasker number 1. I always am confused whether I should call her Dr. Professor Sandhya, Dr. Professor Toastmaster Sandhya, or Professor Dr. Toastmaster Sandhya, or Toastmaster, whichever way. So over to you, Dr. Toastmaster Professor Sandhya. Toastmaster Sandhya? Who is silent? All right, okay. Sai, it's time for that part of the meeting, what I call Sai jokes. Are you up for it? Or is Sandhya coming to your rescue?
Sandhya's video is on.
Swinging in at the last minute. Wow, awesome. All right, this is called rescue.
Yes. This is the reason that we continue to have online meetings, so that we know how to prepare for such technical glitches as well. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. It is a complete pleasure to be here as the presiding officer for today's meeting in front of you all. Welcome to the 5th Thursday meeting of BKC Fireflies, meeting number 120th. Why is the 5th Thursday significant? The 5th Thursday is significant because not all months have 5 Thursdays. And whenever there is a 5th, Thursday in any month, we at BKC Fireflies try to do a meeting with a difference. And today, as you will see, the meeting with a difference means that this meeting is going to be a lot more exciting than our usual Toastmasters meeting, because here today we are only going to have table topics. That is, all of us are only going to be speaking impromptu, just like I'm doing right now. Yes, I am not prepared with the presiding officer's speech, but jokes apart, that's exactly what table topics is about, an impromptu speech, and that will be further elaborated by the table topics master, who will come after me here. But before we get to the table topics master, who is going to be taking most of the screen time at today's meeting, let me tell you a couple of other things that are important for us as Toastmasters and as guests. Other than having 5 Thursdays of the month, which is, like I said, is of a special significance for BKC Fireflies, the coming month, that is the month of September, is going to be super duper exciting for each of us. And the reason is that BKC Fireflies has come up with the concept of Super September. Now, before I tell you what Super September is, for the ones who are recent Toastmasters or guests here, a very important aspect of Toastmasters is also the contests. Toastmasters International and District 98 annually holds contests, which are the International Speech Contests, the Table Topics Contest, Evaluation Contest, and Humorous Speech Contests. And for the ones who do not know yet, BKC Fireflies is full of such champions. Toastmaster Cyril just very recently became the District 98 champion of International Speech Contest. He's also been the past champion of the Humorous Speech Contest at the district level. And let me tell you, it is not a mean feat to win at the district level. He is followed by Toastmaster Sai, who has won the evaluation contest at the division level just this year. And we also have Toastmaster Pranav Advani, who was a runner-up at the international speech contest a couple of years ago. So BKC Fireflies is full of such contest champions. But it is time that we have a new set of champions. Now that we have so many new members, we want to have a lot more champions representing BKC Fireflies. And for that, we would like to conduct some training sessions which will help you prepare for those contests. And Super September, we aim is by doing the Super September, we aim to prepare, we aim to give you that first platform to prepare for those contests. So what is the Super September all about? Every Saturday of September, we focus on one aspect of speech, because speech, we know, is not just about delivery. It's also about how you communicate, what you should communicate, what do you write, how do you write a speech, for example. How do you use vocal variety in writing those speeches? How do you promote your speeches on social media, for example? Because if you are a speaker, you have to also show it to the world. So how do you showcase your speech skills to the world? And finally, how do you tie down all these things together? So our first Saturday of Super September will be focused on active communication, which will be hosted by Toastmaster Sai, who is also the president of the club. Yes, that he is waving his hand. Hi, Toastmaster Sai. This will then be followed by vocal variety sessions by none other than Toastmaster Cyril, who is actually now a professional vocal artist also. After giving up a fantastic career in investment banking, he has a full-fledged career in as a voice artist. So there is no one better than him to tell you how to use vocal variety, and you should just listen to his past speeches to know what wonders one can do using their voice. Then we have a session by Toastmaster Sneha Sharma, who will tell us about how to write a speech, how to bring the different aspects of a speech together. We then have Toastmaster Vyoma Rao, who will tell you how to put yourself in front of the public eye, how to use social media skills to put yourself out there as a speaker. And finally, we have Toastmaster Pranav Advani, who will tell us how to put all the aspects of the speech together and make you a great speaker. So irrespective of whether you're planning for the contest or not, whether you're planning to be a Toastmaster or not, you should attend these sessions, because all of us do give speeches at some or the other point of our life. So please make sure to attend this Super September. If you're a member of BKC Fireflies, all of these sessions are free for you. If you are a non-member, there is a small charge that we levy depending on whether you want to attend all the sessions or just one session. If you have more questions about this, feel free to get in touch with me, and I can share more details about this with you. So that is all about Super September. Now, this month has been a month where India has started kickstarting its festival season. We just celebrated Raksha Bandhan yesterday. Before that, we celebrated Onam. The coming month, we will see Ganesh Chaturthi, we will see Gokulashtami, and so on. Other than these, we also have a number of other events. For example, on the 29th of August, India celebrated the National Sports Day. And when I talk of National Sports Day, is there any sportsman that comes to you? What is the name of the sportsman that comes to you? Please tell.
Sachin Tendulkar.
Sachin Tendulkar. Okay. Anyone else?
Currently, Neeraj Chopra.
Correct. Exactly. That's what I was going to say. Neeraj Chopra. And that's the name that also came to my mind. So just a couple of days before we celebrated the National Sports Day, Neeraj Chopra made us all proud by winning the gold at the World Championships in javelin throw. And what a spectacular event that was. And he has been praised not just for the master athlete that he is, but also the sportsmanship that he showed by a number of other gestures that he did. Now, the reason that I'm talking of Neeraj Chopra is as follows. If you read a little bit about Neeraj Chopra, he comes from extremely humble backgrounds. He comes from a family of people involved in agriculture. He struggled his way up. By accident, he realized that he likes javelin throw. He just saw somebody throwing, and without training, he actually started into javelin throw. And somebody observed that this guy can actually throw so well without formal training. And this guy then volunteered to be his coach and coached him on javelin throw. And over the years, he just climbed up the ladder, went further and further with his training, and finally represented us at the World Championships, at the Olympics, and has won us multiple gold medals, and is now the first ranker in his field. What an achievement! Each of us can do this. Our backgrounds do not matter. So all of us here, taking cue from Mr. Neeraj Chopra, just learn that one lesson. What is the lesson that we can learn from him? The lesson that he teaches us is our backgrounds do not matter. Not all of us might have gone to extremely good English speaking schools, for example. Not all of us might have had the access to a stage to perform as children. But today, we all have access to something called Toastmasters that help us train us as speakers. So let us take this opportunity to grow as speakers. And like I have already told you, some members of BKC Fireflies have already represented the club at the district level. So there is an opportunity for each of us to become speakers, not just at the district level, but also at the world level. The ultimate contest that Toastmasters hold is the World Championships. So your aim has to be there. Just like Neeraj Chopra got us the gold medal at the World Championships, even at Toastmasters, there is the Public Speaking Championship that we should aim to win and represent BKC Fireflies there. And like I already said, Super September could be that first seed that you can sow and start on that path of your journey as a speaker. So I think that is what I would like to say. But at the same time, I also see a number of people whom I do not know very well. I see Rashmi, for example. Hi, Rashmi. Can you unmute yourself, and if you don't mind, also put on your camera?
Hey, hi. Hi. That was a
Hi.
wonderful introduction. Thanks a lot. I don't know if you can see my video. 1 second now.
I do not see your video yet.
Yeah, sorry, I think there is some technical glitch.
Never mind. Rashmi, I just want to talk to you and know a little bit more about you. Can you tell us a little bit more about yourself and tell us what brought you here at today's meeting?
Sure. So I am an HR professional. I work with Glenmark Pharmaceuticals. And like a lot of people, I think I do have a little bit fear of public speaking, but more than that, I am really impressed by people, who have excellent oratory skills. So that is why I have been thinking about joining a Toastmaster club or doing something about it. But so I think more than I act. But finally today I am here in this in this meeting. So hopefully, that's the start of the journey.
Wish you all the best with that start, and I hope, yes, that you will be a Toastmaster member sometime very soon. Of course, try different clubs and see how you like Toastmasters, how you like being in different clubs, and yes, definitely be a member. It's an excellent platform to not just hone your speaking skills but also leadership skills, as you will realize once you join Toastmasters. So welcome to BKC Fireflies, Rashmi, and let us know by the end of the meeting how you like the meeting.
Definitely. Thanks a lot, Sandhya.
Thanks for joining. I also see Toastmaster Mitesh from BTM here. Hi Mitesh, welcome back to BKC Fireflies.
Hi. Thank you.
So hi,
How can I help?
quickly,
Yes.
tell us what brought us back here to BKC Fireflies. What brought you back here to BKC Fireflies?
Oh, I'm a regular at different clubs.
Okay.
So I
And
visit
so
different
BKC
clubs once or
Fireflies.
twice a month.
So you're one dedicated Toastmaster who keeps traveling to different clubs.
Yes.
Okay, lovely, Mitesh. Thank you for being here, and yeah, we hope to listen more from you in the meeting today. Like I said, being a table topics marathon. We also have Toastmaster Sunil, another regular at BKC Fireflies. In fact, a regular role player at BKC Fireflies. Welcome back, Toastmaster Sunil.
Hey, thanks.
And yeah, I hope, just like Nitesh, you will also enjoy this meeting, and we hope to also listen from you. You've been doing a number of roles for us and doing that excellently well. So today, maybe you can sit back, relax, and be a participant.
Pleasure. Yeah, pleasure is mine. It's always a pleasure to hear Cyril, you, and Sai. And it's the fire that's there in the BKC Fireflies that makes me come back every time.
Thank you very much for those wonderful words. And on that note, now I am going to hand over the stage to somebody who has already been mentioned several times in these 20 minutes of meeting, and that is none other than the president of BKC Fireflies, Toastmaster Sai Ramachandran. By profession, I must not say he is into IT because he gets offended if I say that. He is a software engineer who also enjoys public speaking and a number of other things, like, for example, DIY. He does his own carpentry work at home, for example. So if you find it difficult to get a carpenter for a few things at home, you know whom to call. He is the DIY man for you. Other than that, he is also a hands-on dad, and now an entrepreneur who has a lot of ideas about AI. And yes, you can probably connect with him later on that. Over to you, Toastmaster Sai. We are looking forward to an amazing table topic session.
Thank you so very much. This is a joke I've tried a few times. I'm going to try it once more. I put the AI, no, I put the Sai in AI or something like that. Maybe the delivery wasn't great, but yes, that's what I'm working on. I'm building an AI startup which will help you work with ChatGPT as groups of people, not individuals. But that's at a different time, at a different place of my life. Right now, I'm focused on Toastmasters. I'm so happy that I'm here as part of meeting number 120 of BKC Fireflies. We started off, people didn't know. Like, for example, Rashmi was asking how old the club has been. We've been around for about 3 or 4 years, and we finally, after that journey, have reached meeting number 120, which is where we are today. And like Sandhya said, this is a special meeting. We will not be having a full meeting where there is a prepared speech in the beginning, table topics in the middle, followed by evaluations at the end. We'll only do table topics. And one other thing I've asked the GE, who is our presiding officer, Sandhya, to do is to give feedback to all the table topics participants. If you want more detailed feedback, please do mention it to me somewhere along the way. I mean, if you want to tell me now that you want more detailed feedback, I'll make a note of it and make sure that somebody's there to give you detailed feedback. But other than that, our general evaluator will be giving you feedback about what you did well during your table topics, what you could have said, what you could have done better, done differently, all those things. The general evaluator's job, it is the general evaluator's job to give you that feedback. But before we get into table topics, let me introduce the theme for the evening and also fill out one last role that was pending, as far as I know. Our R counter is still missing. So we have Mitesh and Sunil, who are both experienced Toastmasters. Does either of you want to be the R counter? If not, I can be the R counter. Give me a thumbs up if you can, or one of those gestures if you can be. Sunil, can you be the R counter? There you go. Thank you.
Okay.
Our R counter for the evening is Toastmaster Sunil. So before we get into the table topics, let me quickly also introduce the role players, people who are helping us keep this meeting on track. The first person I'm going to call up is the timer for the evening, Toastmaster Mahesh, to tell us how he plans to execute the role of the timer.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you all. I'll be playing the role of our timer, and I'll be timing the table topic speeches. So it is rightly said that time is money. So we should try to optimize the time. So optimum time is between 1 to 2 minutes. So at the end of 1 minute, green light will appear. At the end of 1.5 minutes, yellow light will appear. And at the end of 2 minutes, a red light will appear. But there is a catch that after 2.5 minutes, there is a stage for disqualification. So that's, you should keep that in mind. So in the end, I will be submitting my report that how much time each speaker has taken during the table topic. That's all from my side. Thank you.
And Mahesh, if you tell us how you plan to announce or show the timing screen by sharing your screen and letting us know what it looks like for people who don't know.
Yeah. Just give 1 minute.
No worries. Yes. So Mahesh will be sharing his screen, and this screen will be turning the gray part will be turning green, yellow, and red as per the timings announced by him. So thank you, Mahesh. You can stop sharing now.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Right. Our second role player, let me unspotlight Mahesh so he's not in the middle of the screen. The second role player for the evening is the Grammarian, who had to unfortunately step away to run some errands around the house. Oh, he's back. Let me see. Let me spotlight Cyril so he can continue.
Thank you. I'm a little out of breath. I ran up 5 floors. Right. The word of the day today is highfalutin. Highfalutin. It means someone who's pompous, snobbish, conceited, arrogant. It also means someone who uses unnecessarily heavy language when a kind of an ordinary word would do. Highfalutin. Over to you, Toastmaster of the day. My apologies. I need to explain my role as well. My role is to pay close attention to all use of language, the good ones and the bad ones, highlight the good ones, and also point out the not so good ones so that members can use it for their improvement. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Yes, to help you understand what Cyril said, in the midst of all this panting and chanting, let me drop Cyril from the spotlight. Yes. In the midst of all this panting and chanting, what he said was that he is going to keep track of people who use the English language well, people who butcher the English language, And he will do it using simple language instead of highfalutin language, which is pompous, pretentious, over-the-top language that some people use when they have nothing important and nothing useful to say. That is Toastmaster Cyril's role. Our last role player for the evening is the R counter, Sunil. If I can spotlight him. Oh, your video's off, Sunil.
Okay.
There you
Is
go.
it on?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So so my role will be to look at the ahas, arms. Rather, I would say, can you whistle a symphony? Because it takes an entire orchestra to play it. And whenever there is interruption in any of that, I think the melody is lost. So your ahs, ums, the ayis, the but, the and are all those interruptions which I would look for. And at the end of the meeting, I will submit the report on that. Over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you very much, Sunil. Yes, now it's time to start table topics, which, like the timer said, each table topic has to be between 1 to 2 minutes. If you go beyond 2 minutes and 30 seconds, you're disqualified. But feel free to speak as much as you can, do what you can, because this is a place for growth. This is a place for support. If you're struggling to finish your table topic, I can step in, ask you questions to help you along the way. But before we start the table topics, I quickly wanted to tell you a little bit about the theme for the evening, which was, what does it mean to be middle class? Now, obviously, there's a lot of theory and there's a lot of definitions which go around the meaning or the interpretation of middle class. And a lot of it is just stuff that people have invented. For example, in the communist world, the world of communists, the middle class was defined. So they looked at everything from the perspective of the means of production. Like, how does stuff get produced? Who owns it? And who works on it? So they had two classes of people who own the means of production and people who work on the means of production. And then they eventually realized that there was another class emerging, people who had to manage the stuff that is being produced and the bookkeepers of that process of production. And they call that the middle class. There are other economists who have looked at the same management class, the people who are professionals and lawyers and accountants and doctors, people who don't work, that they are usually have a higher level of education than the rest of the population, not the nobility, but the rest of the population. They tend to be wealthier. So those people were called the middle class. Eventually, people started giving numbers to it and said, if you have $10 of income every day, if you earn more than 10 or more dollars every day, or you have 10 or more dollars to spend every day, you are considered middle class. So by those definitions, many countries have done a great job in transforming their own middle class. For example, China has gone from 15% of the population being quote unquote middle class to 62% of the population being middle class, which is a huge transformation. When you're looking at a country of China's size, which is 1 billion people, 1.3 people, 60% of that is what? Nearly 800 million people have become middle class today. And by middle class, they have a better quality of life, they have more disposable income, they travel more, they expect more from society, they're willing to give back more to society. All those things are defined as middle class. In India, the role of the middle class the size of the middle class is a little bit open for interpretation, again, because of the definitions people use. Not everybody agrees that $10 of money every day, if you earn that much, that's what makes you middle class. There's also a slightly larger range that Indian economists also look at, which is between $2 and $10 a day is the range for the middle class in India. And if you look at it like that, India has more than 600 million people who are part of the middle class, which is comparable with China. But if you look at the classical definition, there are not that many people. And the strange thing about India is that the people who are wealthy are becoming much, much wealthier, much, much faster. So India's middle class, if you look at the classical definition, which is the $10 definition, is actually shrinking, because the minute you hit that level, you're actually becoming, it's easy for you to go from the middle class to the upper middle class, or the I guess the rich class, and you don't stay in the middle class anymore. So that transition happens so fast, the middle class could be shrinking because of the way the Indian economy has grown and evolved. It is an economy of great inequality. And again, this is not a political statement. This is all economics. It is an economy of inequality. And that's why people are sucked into the middle class and then pushed out of the middle class into the upper middle class really quickly, and then you're no longer part of the middle class, and the middle class is considered to be shrinking. But again, there are different countries and different definitions. So the key takeaway for me, at least while researching this topic, was that the middle class is not something that is clearly defined. Different people have seen the same data and come up with different interpretations of the middle class. For example, you would assume that if there's something called the middle class, it'll be roughly 50% of the population. But that's not true either. There are some countries where the middle class, like China, for instance, 62% of the country is considered middle class. Similarly, the United States, the wealthiest country in the world, 45%, less than 50% of the population is considered middle class. So there are huge populations which are in the below the middle class. There's a substantial portion above the middle class. So the middle class has shrunk below 50%, though you assume that middle class would be 50%. So all this is very interesting. But again, this is a little bit of a serious topic, and that's not really what I wanted to do when I picked up the topic about the middle class. I wanted to give you my perspective on what being middle class means. So I've come up with about, say, 5 to 7 reasons or things that you do if you're part of the middle class. Let's start with the first one. I'm middle class because I hate to tip the service economy. I feel as un-Indian. But I'm also middle class because I have cousins who bring me foreign chocolates, which I love. I don't think foreign chocolates are un-Indian. Tipping is un-Indian. That makes me middle class. I like to keep my money with me, but I'm also willing to indulge in stuff from abroad and enjoy the finer things of life which come from abroad. So that's a typical sign of the middle class, that you look at. So you don't tip. You don't do the typical things that the wealthy class does, which is to spread your money around and give people, let people have a good life. You hold on to your money, but you also enjoy the finer things in life. That makes you middle class. But let's not go too far ahead of ourselves. We also have a table topics to get through, which brings me to the second part of my role, which is not just to introduce the theme and talk about it, but also my role as the table topics master for the evening. Table topics is where you have to think on your feet. It's an opportunity for you to participate in a conversation which you're not prepared for. You're not ready for it. You don't know what to say. You're just going to be put on the spotlight and told that, yes, this is what I need to hear from you. This is the topic I want to hear from you on. The only person in this room who can actually say no to that is Rashmi, because she's a guest. Everybody else in this room is a Toastmaster. So you're not allowed by the rules of Toastmasters to say no when you're called up to do a table topics, unless you're in the bathroom or something. Nobody wants to see you in the bathroom. That's the only time you can say no. Other than that, you cannot say no for table topics. So let me pull up Cynthia. You're it for now as the table topics for the first table topics participant. Is your camera on? Yes. All right.
I just switched it on.
I see you and I hear you also. So your audio and video is taken care of. How are you feeling? You said you're not keeping well today.
Yes, so I guess it's reflecting in my voice. I am just recovering.
Was it
so the radio voice is missing?
Oh, we'll have to wait for Cyril to give his opinion. I think your voice sounds fine to me. I can't hear any sickness in it. But do you feel sick?
No.
Or
No, it's okay.
All right. So I'm going to ask a little bit of I'm going to ask you to do a little bit above and beyond the typical table topics. I'm going to give you 3 words. Your job in the 1 to 2 minutes that you have is to connect those 3 words into a coherent story. And you can pick the story. You can say whatever you want, but it has to make sense. The words have to make sense. And the general evaluator will judge you on this because you will be getting feedback on how you did on table topics. Are you ready?
Yes.
The 3 words for you are green, skip, and cloud. Green, skip, cloud. Cynthia.
Green is GREEN is what you mean by green, right?
Yeah, the color green, yes.
The color green, skip, and cloud.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to start.
Mm-hmm.
One fine morning, I decided that I would wake up and, not being my usual self, would do something different. So I wake up at 5 in the morning, which I generally don't do. walk out of my house, and there's a garden full of greenery. I take my skipping rope and, looking at the clouds, find that it is going to be a sunny day. So I walk up to, I start moving towards the green garden, and I start skipping. And I skip and skip and skip, and the clouds turn dark, and it gets darker and it gets darker, and I start wondering. I said just about a minute back it was all clear and ready for me to be fresh in the morning. But now that I see it's getting darker, I need to rush back home. And before I could actually step into my building, it started pouring cats and dogs. And as not a normal day, I was completely drenched, and I had to come back home and take a bath and then get out to work. That's about it. I think it's stupid.
You made it. I mean, you made it through the minute mark. So great job. Thank you so much. And Mahesh, you can stop sharing. And I just wanted to point out that Mahesh, you should be starting when the speaker starts and not prior to that. So just when you're timing someone, make sure that you hit the start button only after the speaker has made their first verbal or non-verbal gesture. So, but it's okay for now. Cynthia was well within time. All right. So we're going to ask Poovi. Your camera was on for a couple of seconds, but it's gone now. So are you ready? Yes, you're ready. Let me spotlight you for everyone. I'm going to challenge you now, Poovi. Someone discovered Neeraj Chopra. He's the son of a farmer. He was discovered and he's now a world champion. Who around you do you think has the potential to be the world champion of something? Who can you be somebody's? Can you find a Neeraj Chopra from your own life?
So I'll just quickly repeat what the topic is. You said that who around you has the potential to be a Neeraj Chopra?
Yes.
Right? Or who has the potential to find Neeraj Chopra around you?
Who has the potential to be Neeraj Chopra around you?
I just think one and a half minute. Okay, I'm ready to begin.
But before you do that, Mahesh, screen share. There you go. Okay.
So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and fellow Toastmasters, on this beautiful 31st day of the 8th month of the year 2023. I present before you the topic for the 120th meeting of Toastmasters. Now, when Sai introduced the topic, today, and introducing the meeting of the great middle class, it is a topic which is in fact very close to my heart, because I've read a lot about it as a budding economist, or at least I was, because I studied economics during my undergrad studies. This topic really always caught my attention, because it is so highly debated, right? In India, a lot of people think they are middle class. And most people, in fact, think they are middle class. But the great irony is that a lot of people who think they are middle class are not really middle class, because they are surpassing the income levels. And people who genuinely think that they are middle class or lower middle class are probably not. But I think what really commonly divides India is that all of us are very driven, and most of us, especially if you look at things like the Spirit of Mumbai, there people are so driven to just maximize whatever opportunities that they have. And that is why I think there is not only a Neeraj Chopra in a few people. I think practically the entire middle class has multiple Neeraj Chopras. It's only the opportunities and the avenues that are often missing for the 1.4 billion of the Indians that are there. But there is a middle class, or there is a Neeraj Chopra in almost every single middle class member in India. Thank you.
Sounds good. I like the way you interpreted the topic to talk about near Chopras of our life, not just one specific near Chopra. So nicely handled. Well done. I thought I saw Hina. Yes, Hina, are you there in the meeting and are you willing to participate in table topics? You don't have a job. You have to say yes, because you're a Toastmaster yourself.
Yes, just give me a minute to open up my camera. Could you ask me next if you have time?
No
So
problem.
I'll manage my veil.
Sure, I'll get someone else. Mitesh, are you there? Are you ready to do table topics?
Yes.
There you go. So once your camera's on, I can spotlight you and then I can give you your topic.
Yes.
Mahesh, ready via screen share? Okay. Mitesh, it is said that Indians are great at maths. For example, they're so good at maths that they'll buy one soup by two and then add it back to see if the two halves are more than a whole. Do you agree? Do you do a by two of soup or do you not do a by two of soup? Or chai or whatever?
Good evening, Toastmasters, fellow Toastmasters and future Toastmasters. Thank you for your question, Sai. When I was young, I used to buy a lot of instant soups, buy one get one free, and there also always used to such deals used to be in supermarket. Especially, I've lived in New Zealand for 8 years, so there were a lot of deals put up like that, and it used to be very quick fix for everything because we were working long hours and we never used to have much time to cook every day. So but recently our lifestyle has changed with age, and I certainly believe that I am no longer keen to grab those deals anymore. First, I have realized that there is no nutrition in that, as well as with age, I am not able to cope up with instant food. Thank you. Over to you, table topic master Sai.
I think what Mitesh is subtly trying to tell us is that he's no longer middle class. I think he's trying to tell us that he's graduated from middle class to the class which doesn't have to worry about deals and offers and things like that. So thank you very much, Mitesh, for participating in table topics. Hina, I see that your camera is on. Are you ready? Let me spotlight you.
Yes, I'm ready.
And welcome to meeting 120 from all the way from Pakistan. Welcome. All right. So your topic is Mahesh. Are you ready with the screen share? Hina, being middle class means knowing the value of something and also knowing the price of something, making sure that the ratio between value and price is kept to 1. What in your life is far more valuable than the price you paid for it?
Could you concise it in a small answer question?
Sure. What in your life is more valuable than just the price you paid for it?
Okay. Thank you so much for the wonderful question, Mr. Table Topic Master, fellow Toastmasters, and distinguished guests. What value that, in my opinion, I add whenever I went to buy something, to get something, being a middle class person? First of all, when I born and grew older, I heard that we belong to middle class family. We had a car, we had our own house, we went to the good schools, but we heard that we belong to middle class family. But how? When I got married, I again heard that we belong to a middle class family. And we had 2 cars, we have 2 cars, our 2 houses we have, and our children are going to a good schools. But still, we says that we belong to a middle class family. Few days back, when I went to the shopping, I started bargaining. The shopkeeper said, please not to bargain because you couldn't do it. It's not your job. We see the people and show the price accordingly. So the thing is, if a person is capable to do bargaining, the shopkeeper can understand. But the question was, what value? So I always value the thing that I like it most. And the funniest thing is, I like the most when I went to the market, but I don't want to shopping a dress. Means I went to the market for grocery only. During grocery, I see some dresses were there. Oh my God, this one is so good. That one is looking so beautiful. But when I go to the shopping actually to buy a dress, at that time I give value to the its stuff, its structure, its embroidery, and each and everything. So I don't have time to conclude. Goodbye. It is all from my side.
Thank you very much. We will let you save your opportunity to win the table topics. We will not let you force you to finish this table topics of yours. Rashmi, now's your opportunity. You have seen a few participants of table topics. People have approached the same topic in different ways. Are you interested in doing a table topics?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, wow. I appreciate that. That is amazing that you're... wait, I need to admit a couple of people into the meeting. I see you.
I got it, Sai. I got it.
Okay, cool, cool. So, wait, did you get spotlighted, Cyril? We don't want you there. We want Rashmi to be there in the spotlight. Wait, let me spotlight Rashmi. There you go. All right, Rashmi, 1 to 2 minutes. And if you're getting stuck, we'll be happy to jump in and help you. All right?
Sure.
Let's see what topic we can get you. I am middle class because I read the English newspaper, but I also find Shashi Tharoor very obnoxious. What contradictory things do you do as a middle class person?
Okay, so that's a very interesting topic. So sure, I can start. So, you know, a lot of people have already said that they all have been brought up being part of middle class households, while the definition of middle class household itself is very dubious, because everybody has their own definition and everybody feels that they are middle class, and same is my story. So I have grown up, you know, hearing that I have grown up in a middle class family, and where education was the most important thing, you know, that my parents paid importance to. So that is something which was never compromised. So now you know, so now I feel that while I am middle class and I like to continue to say that I am middle class, but I do indulge in a lot of things which are not maybe typical middle class, like you know, when it comes to travel, and like when it comes to some of the impulse purchases and so on. And there are a lot of contradictory things that I do in my life, not just when it comes to being middle class, like when it comes to say my focus on so to say personal growth, personal development. I make a lot of plans, like Toastmaster is one of the plan which I have been making for many years, but I don't end up acting on that. So that is again something contradictory. And again, so yeah, I do tend to talk about a lot of things, and I do tend to plan a lot of things, but I don't end up executing a lot of those things. So that is the story of my life. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for taking part in table topics. Your first, I think this must be your first time doing it, I'm sure. Wow, great job. Congratulations. Ujjwal, you're a Toastmaster now. Now you cannot say no. Can I spotlight you and ask you to do a table topic? Ujjwal, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes, his camera is on. He's definitely interested.
Yeah.
Hey, Ujjwal. All right, let me get you a good topic.
Yeah, give me an easy one, because this is my second time after joining Toastmasters.
Sure. Okay, I'll do that. Does abstract art have to make sense? Does art have to make sense? Let's keep it like that. Does art have to make sense?
Okay. Can't think of anything as of now.
Think of abstract art, like you see random stuff drawn and people claim to be art. Do you think that's art, or do you feel it's somebody scamming the world? Think of a poetry which is hard to understand. Do you believe that's art, or do you believe it's just rubbish?
Okay. So thank you for the topic, table topic master and fellow Toastmasters. This is the first time I have joined a class after joining Toastmasters. Been very busy on the schedules as of now, and so I find abstract art sometimes very interesting, but if at all it's making sense. Otherwise, whenever we see something and we would like to know about that art, what was the thought process behind that artist to make that kind of an art, then I think it makes sense. If at all, I've seen a lot of videos on social media where you just throw random colors onto some sheet of paper or the canvas that they use. So I feel that is also being sold at a very heavy price, and that I feel doesn't make any sense for me, because if you're an artist, there should be a thought process behind it to make something that sort of art. Yeah, that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ujjwal. And I want to take a couple of minutes to talk about what Ujjwal just said. So last week when we had our meeting, the previous meeting, I talked about this artist called Andy Warhol, who was infamous for collecting his daily stuff from his daily life, like toenail clippings and his used ballpoint pens and condoms and clothes and underwear. He packed all that away because he believed that as an artist, he was important enough that in future people would want to buy it. Like people would want to buy stuff like his toenail clippings. So that's the kind of stuff there's an article I was reading on that. And as part of that article, there was other examples of what people have claimed to be art. So there's one artist who drew a purple rectangle on a white sheet of paper, literally outline of a rectangle, purple in color on a white sheet of paper, and said, "This is art." Obviously, the person writing the article questioned that and said, "How is it art? It's just a square. I mean, it's just a rectangle, a purple rectangle on a sheet of paper. How is that art?" Similarly, another artist who claimed that her work was art had printed white on white. She had printed a flower, a white flower, on a sheet of white paper. And you could hardly even see the flower if you didn't look at it very closely. I mean, with printed material, that's one advantage, that if you look at it at a certain angle, you can see some part of it and you can feel that there's something there. So her art was like that she'd made something practically invisible. If you saw it at 90 degrees, like staring right into it, you wouldn't understand why there was a sheet of paper on the wall and why there was a name to it. But if you twisted it, you could see the white outline of a flower. And that she called art. So the question I have for all of us to think about, and this is in general, is do you have the courage and the audacity to believe in something so much that even if everybody else around you thinks that you are crazy for calling it art, or you are crazy for believing that you have produced something worth sharing, you will still share it? And I think that's the audacity and the courage that comes from believing you're an artist and not the finished product. Because a lot of people can do landscapes and draw horses and tulips and flowers and vases and scenes from a movie. They can do all those things. But a true artist has, at least my understanding of my interpretation of that article was that a true artist is willing to share something from within them, which might not seem like art in the traditional sense. They're challenging you to expand your definition of art. Another example of this, and this is after this we'll go back to the table topics. Pablo Picasso, he was upset with the way the world was going during the Second World War, and or maybe it was a little after that, and he made a painting called the Guernica, which is his protest against the coming of the war. And if you look at it, it feels very hard to believe that this is art. It's just lines, and it's not a very arresting and a very gripping picture painting when you first see it. But it is considered to be the best work of art of the last century, because it is, by the people who understand art, obviously not me, the people who understand art claim that it brings out feelings and explains his angst, his anger towards the coming war in a way that it is very typical and very it is Picasso's inner voice coming out and saying that this war needs to not happen. We need to stop this war, and war is bad. And he's doing it through a painting, and he's able to do it. And that's what Picasso's greatness lies, that he was able to express in art form what people were feeling inside. That war is bad, killing people is bad, destruction is bad, let's not do it, which is what the greatness of art is. So again, let's not forget that art is not just, and this is not a Ujjwal, I agree with you. Some art can be like, it's very open to interpretation. You have no idea whether it's art or not. But not all art is just pictures and fruit on a table, or what we used to do as kids. Used to draw two triangles on a piece of paper and put the sun in between. At least that's what I used to do. And then paint the two triangles brown, and the sun used to be golden, and then that's the sunrise. And that's all my art was. But that's not art by itself. All right, so now back to table topics. Manoj, your camera is on, so clearly I feel that you want to participate in table topics. Are you a Toastmaster, Manoj?
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to put you on spotlight, and I'm going to give you a table topic. Spotlight for everyone. Mahesh is ready. You're familiar with the table timings and everything, right?
Yes.
All right, sounds good. Let's do this. Do you want something simple, or are you okay with something a little bit complicated?
I'm okay with everything, whatever you choose.
All right, let's do this. As a middle-class person, I look down on the drunks on the street. But as a middle-class person, I love the open bar. Manoj, over to you.
Good evening, Toastmasters and people on the screen. Middle class is a class which is sandwiched between the upper class and what we call the laborer class. It is always sandwiched. It's a comparison between somebody and who is not, haves and have-nots. So we look up to the upper class and we look down upon the lower class. We look down when people go around drunk, but we go to a pub, we go to a bar and think it's a high-class tradition to have a drink. So middle class, once we are sandwiched, it's like we are confused where we are. And who is a middle class? When you compare, we are not Ambanis. Anyone below that can be called a middle class because you're always below somebody else. So this tussle between the higher class and lower class, you remain in between. It's a blessing in disguise too. Because you're always aspiring to do something higher. That aspiration pushes you harder to do something more, to achieve something. But once we accept things, accept life as it is, then I think we start enjoying our middle class stardom because we have enough to lead a comfortable life. We can afford to go to a pub and have a drink. At the same time, we do not do that which you call generally very, very cheap looking, to have a bottle in our hand, roaming around the street and being drunk. So I think as a middle class, this is the best class that you can be, and we can enjoy being a middle class. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Manoj. All right, let me see if I can spotlight myself. One quick. All right. Oh, so we've had about 7 participants so far in table topics. Do we have any volunteers? We've had Manoj speaking, Hina, Cynthia, Bhuvi. Sunil, what about you? I'm going to spotlight you because you have no right to say no, unfortunately. All right. As a middle-class person, I think Manoj addressed this already, so let's not do this one. As a middle-class person, I love to go on vacations, but only on a guided tour. Manoj, what is a favorite vacation destination for you, and a destination where you had to show your middle-class nature?
So you said Manoj? I mean, is this directed to Manoj?
No, I misspoke. I meant you.
Okay. Can you come again, Sai? I just missed that.
Right. So your question is, which middle-class vacation did you take that you enjoyed a lot?
Okay. Okay. So, good evening, fellow Toastmasters of the day, and all the wonderful guests. You take vacations to relax yourself, to break free from the routine, mundane city life, the buzz, the hustle bustle of the city, the grind that you are being through day in, day out, and you want a vacation. And what is the definition nowadays of vacation? I think with the advent of social media, probably there's a lot of stress by the family, or probably there's a lot of peer pressure also of going on vacation and posting those beautiful pictures on Facebook, Instagram. But think of a middle class economy, or think of a middle class man. Can he really afford those extravagant vacations, going to maybe Bangkok, Dubai, and then putting those pictures on Facebook and putting those pictures on Instagram? So how does a middle class come to that point of evenness where he also enjoys a vacation and it's friendly to his pocket also? And for me, I think what I enjoy most is my favorite destination, which really suits a middle class pocket, is Goa. There's nothing like a place in Goa. It's a paradise on earth. It's very friendly on pocket. You can enjoy drinks wherever you want. You can just explore the beaches of South Goa. Those are really wonderful beaches, friendly on the pocket. You can just hire a bike. There's no need of getting a four-wheeler, or there's no need of hiring a taxi, and you can just enjoy that at your own comfort, and which is friendly to your pocket. So for a middle class man, I would recommend go to Goa, visit Goa. It's friendly. You will enjoy your vacations. Over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you very much, Sunil. I was thinking that you're going to go with a Karan Johar or a Yash Raj Chopra movie where you don't have to do anything. My vacation is paid for because all I need to do is go to the nearest theater, and then I'll be taken on a vacation to Switzerland and all over the world. But Goa is great too. Goa, we went to Goa early in our marriage, and like you said, bikes are freely available. You can drive nearly all over the state without having to break a sweat. It's a small place, but it's, as you said, paradise on earth. Thank you very much. Cyril, you're a grammarian. Do you Are you up to it? Are you going to use highfalutin language to tell us, to do a table topics for us?
I'll try not to, Sai. I'll keep my camera off, but yes, I'm up for it.
All right, give me 1 second while I think we're good to go. All right. This is going to be our last table topic for the evening because everybody's spoken basically. All right, Cyril. As a middle class person, I know what the upper class is doing. I know what the lower class is doing, but I try to stay away from both. What choices do you make as a middle class person which keeps you safe from the excesses of the upper class and the craziness of the lower class?
Right. All throughout my childhood, if you ask me one question, what do you want to be when you become big? I would say, I want to be rich. I didn't have any profession in mind. I didn't have any ambition as such. But except for one thing, I didn't want to be middle class. We learned about the poverty line in school. I wanted to be well above the poverty line. I wanted to be rich. And I stumbled my way into investment banking. And one fine day, when I was in my mid-20s, we got our first investment banking bonuses. And overnight, my bank balance grew richer by 15 lakhs. And I'm above the moon. I'm over the moon. I'm hopping, skipping down Nariman Point. I'm the richest cousin that I know in the family. I'm looking at everyone. I'm suddenly analyzing everyone's clothes. Yeah, you know what? I'm better than that person. You know what? I can buy this better. There's an Omega showroom at Nariman Point. I think it's still there. And I'm like, I'm gonna walk in and buy that Constellation watch. And there's a Kanali suit right next to it, a suiting store. I was gonna buy whatever I wanted for one day. I didn't have any restriction. I could walk into a Mobla store, buy all the Mobla pens from there. It was dreams come true. And suddenly I saw a lady on the footpath. She was sitting. There was a light rain. She had this umbrella. She was protecting not herself, but she was protecting her wares. And what was she selling? She was selling small pocket diaries. In the world of cell phones, nobody uses pocket diary. Those little spiral books that you keep in your pocket once upon a time, nobody uses that. And even if you even if you bought it, how much would you pay for it? $5, $10? You certainly won't pay 250 rupees. And my goodness, how many would she sell that day? My balloon just burst all of a sudden. And I realized that no matter what, it's not whether you're upper class or lower class or middle class or any class at all. It's whether you have happiness in your heart. You see several people, you see vendors who sell their wares on railway stations or sometimes inside trains. Some of them, they still smile. And you see people who are rich, who have investment portfolios running into crores, which means their net worth also swing by a few lakhs here and there, who fret about every single lakh of difference in their net worth, though they have enough and more. I don't think it matters which class you belong to. Just be happy whichever class you are. And by doing that, you become a class act. Back to you, Table Topics Master.
What a great way to end this series of table topics. Thank you so much, Cyril. As usual, you've knocked it out of the park. Thank you so much. Now it's time for me to ask our timer to tell us how our participants did on time. Mahesh, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Toastmaster Sai. So Toastmaster Sandhya took 1 minute and 48 seconds. Toastmaster Bhuvi took 2 minutes and 5 seconds. Toastmaster Mitesh took 1 minute and 15 seconds. Toastmaster Hina took 2 minutes and 22 seconds. Toastmaster Rashmi took 1 minute and 37 seconds. Toastmaster Ujjwal took 1 minute and 26 seconds. Toastmaster Manoj took 2 minutes and 7 seconds. Toastmaster Sunil took 2 minutes and 14 seconds. And last but not the least, Toastmaster Cyril took, it is just an estimate, I was late in starting the timer, but approximately it was 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
I agree. I think Cyril would not have been disqualified. So it's totally okay that his timing seems right to me. Mahesh, would you like to do a table topics yourself? Because you haven't had a chance to speak.
Yeah. I think I don't have any other option but to
Right.
say yes.
Yes, that's true. That's true. All right. So Cyril, how do we time Mahesh? That's the only challenge.
I'll do the needful.
All right. So once you're ready with the timing and you can share your screen, let me know. We can give Mahesh a table topic.
Sai, I'm on a tablet. I won't be able to share my screen.
All right,
I can put on chat if needed.
Mahesh, can you watch the chat because you won't be
Or
getting...
alternately, I can display something on my screen. I can display an emoticon on my screen.
If required, I can click the start button before starting.
Do your own timing. Mahesh, we'll trust you on this one. Do your own timing.
Yeah.
All right. Mahesh, your table topic is this. As a middle class person, I know exactly how much gold I have in the bank. What, according to you, is more valuable than gold in the bank? Mahesh.
Yeah. Thank you, Toastmaster Sai, for giving me this opportunity. First, I would like to share my thoughts regarding middle class community. So, as per me, the middle class is the best class compared to upper class or lower class, because middle class persons have many friends. They live normally in the combined joint family, so they have many relatives. So, what is the basic necessity of a person? A person needs some minimum amount of money to meet his daily needs like shelter, food, clothing. So once the basic necessities are met, then anything excess money is just it will not bring to happiness in your life. So once the basic necessities are met, then excess money will not lead to more happiness. So the middle class person already has met all the basic necessities of his life. So they are the best class among all the three classes. So even if you have any gold in your bank account or anything excess assets are there, that are not going to lead to the more happiness in your life. It may lead to a certain extent, but it not will lead to the great extent of happiness in your life. So being a middle class is a great time to have in the middle class. You have more aspirations. You can aspire to work harder. You can be an inspiration to other people. So that way, middle class is the best class. That's my time. Over to you, Toastmaster Sai.
Thank you very much. And how much time did you speak for? Was it 2 minutes and below?
I forgot to start. I think.
No, you were fine too. So we're just going to assume that you were great as well. So here are a couple of takeaways. Like while I was listening to all you speakers giving your responses to table topics, one theme that kept repeating is that being middle class does not mean there's an upper there's a bare minimum that you have to meet. After that, life becomes, everything above that is just excess. You don't need anything above that. And according to economists, the number, at least the United States, the salary band after which the amount of happiness sort of tapers off, though the salary might increase, the money might increase, but the amount of happiness aligned with that much increase in salary, that becomes lesser and lesser. That number is $60,000 to $80,000 per annum of income, which means that if you're a person who's making $70,000 a year, you're going to have a certain amount of happiness. It's going to increase as it goes closer and closer to 80. But the minute it hits 80 and starts going beyond that, it's not like for every $10,000 increase in happiness, in salary, your happiness will increase by the same amount every $10,000. It'll become lesser and lesser, and eventually, like another $100,000, another $1 million. Who cares? Nobody cares. That's one thing that I wanted to share with the audience about being middle class. That $80,000, at least in the United States, $80,000 per year seems to be that magic number after which the amount of extra money you get doesn't really help you much. The second thing I noticed a lot of people talked about was the importance of hunger, the importance of wanting to do better. And one of the examples of this was India's former cricket captain Mahendra Singh Dhoni, who said that the cricketers from small town India, the cricketers who did not have opportunities before, tend to be tougher. They tend to want and dream and have more drive and more eagerness to participate and win and challenge the established order than the people from the big cities. And this goes back to something that a few of you respondents said, that having wealth, being born with a silver spoon in your mouth, might not help you much. It's the work you put to attain a certain stability and a certain class of existence is of benefit, and is better to have experienced that struggle than to just get something delivered to you on a platter. That's another thing that I wanted to share. This is not just you saying it, it's Mahendra Singh Dhoni who said it about cricketers as well. I think with that, we can come back and put all this stuff in a bow and present it back to you. The topics I chose were things like, the first couple were just off the cuff. Cynthia's topic was green, skip, and cloud. She told us a story. Neeraj, who's the Neeraj of your life? Our friend Bhuvi was able to handle that in her own way. But the rest of the topics were all examples of middle-class behaviors, like knowing how much money you have in the bank, how much gold you have in the bank. That's a very typically middle-class behaviors. The people who are super wealthy, they don't really know how much gold they have lying around in the house. Forget about how much money they have in the bank. There are people who don't have any gold at all, and they're whatever little they have, they keep it with themselves. But it's a very middle-class thing to put your gold in a locker and leave it there and never see it again, because that's where it's safe, and you know for sure that if you ever go to the bank, you'll get back that whatever gold you put there. Let's go back to some of the other topics I asked. The example of buy two behavior. You buy one and split it into two, or buy two and split it into across three people. That's again a very typically Indian, typically middle-class behavior, that you want to share, but you don't want to buy something full. A more wealthy behavior or a more decadent behavior might be to just buy something and throw away the stuff you don't want. But middle-class people will be like, no, I'm going to make maximum utilization of whatever I buy. I'm going to split it between two people, so I don't have to have it all. Somebody else can share it so that we don't waste anything. That's a fairly typical middle-class behavior. The third middle-class behavior, which I find very interesting, is this notion or this behavior where we read in English, we read the English newspaper, we are comfortable to a certain extent with English, but you also find people who go too far with English, a little obnoxious and irritating. We're Indians at heart at the end of the day. We still have, at least let's call it subcontinental, because I know Hina is from Pakistan, so I shouldn't say Indian. We're from the subcontinent. We are comfortable with English, but we also find people who go too far with it, a little obnoxious. And Shashi Tharoor fits the bill in that case. The last thing I want to share is about art. It is a fairly middle-class thing to say, I like art which is understandable, which is relatable, which I can see and recognize as art. It's a sign of, I guess it's a sign of two things. One, either you're an artist at heart and you can understand abstract art, or it's a sign of having excess exposure to abstraction and excess time to think about these things, where you can look at abstract art and say that, yes, I understand this. And that's again, probably the wealthier classes has more time, more exposure, more awareness, more tutoring on the finer aspects of art. And that's where the difference lies between middle class and the upper middle class. And forget about everybody else. And this is again, I've seen this in people around me, that we look down on people, we make fun of people who are enjoying themselves on the road, people who are drunk, people who are dancing on the streets. As a middle class person, no, we're never going to do all those things. We're too straight and narrow. We don't want to be seen being exuberant or having fun, or we don't want to be noticed as the people who are indulging themselves. But give us a chance. We'll do it in secret. We will do it as well or worse than anybody else we see on the street. That's again middle class behavior. So that is my time as your Toastmaster of the day. It is time for us to hand over charge of the meeting to the general evaluator, who will tell us a bit of feedback for each of our speakers, assuming she's been able to do that. So general evaluator Sandhya, I'm going to hand over the charge of the meeting to you to take it forward.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day and Table Topics Master, Toastmaster Sai. Yes, my video is on. Thank you very much for those very interesting topics that you came up with about middle classness. And this is a topic that is very, very close to my heart. And I will come up with those reasons a little later. But before that, let me explain my role as the general evaluator. Usually, the role of the general evaluator in any Toastmasters session is to evaluate the session in general, and also to introduce the speech evaluators and ask them to evaluate the prepared speeches. But because, like I said in the beginning of the meeting, this is a meeting with a difference. We did not have any prepared speeches, but all we had was table topics. We thought, why not evaluate the table topics speeches? So I have been listening carefully to all the speeches that we had, all the wonderful speakers that we had today. And I have been jotting down a couple of points that you all did well, and also a couple of points on what you could have done better. So I will start with that first. After that, I will move on to call upon the R counter and the grammarian to give their reports. And finally, I will give my feedback about the meeting in general. So that's going to be the format, and I will be quick because we are running a little behind time. So I will start with Toastmaster Cynthia, who was the first speaker. And in fact, most of you, I think, have been very recent additions to the Toastmaster community. So before I start with that, with individual evaluation, uh, let me give you a very brief idea of how one could excel table topics in general, uh, especially given that many of you are new to Toastmasters. So, when there is a topic that is given, you are allowed to take a few seconds to think about the topic and gather your thoughts about it. So, feel free to take those few seconds to think about it. Once you start, try to split your speech into three different sections. One is where you are giving a small introduction to the topic, or it could be your understanding or your take on the topic. Then comes the main body of the topic where you give your opinion on the topic, and then finally wrap it up with a conclusion. Now, this, of course, might not come at the very beginning of you as a table topic speaker, but it will come with practice. And that's the reason why we should be attending more and more Toastmasters meetings and keep attempting these table topics, because table topics are a very good skill to have. Think of it as let's say an interview, that a job interview that you are appearing to, where you have been asked a question. How are you going to answer that question? You have to answer that on your feet. So table topics gives you that skill to answer questions on your feet. Now Bhuvi has asked me to repeat this, so let me repeat this. There are three specific things that you should be looking at. One is the introduction to the speech. So think of it as let's say if it's a topic with a question where you could take sides, then just say what side are you on of the topic, right? That could be the first thing, that you introduce the topic. The main part of the speech should be the body, where you give your take of why, where, which, etc. You answer the questions of what you think about the topic, and finally wrap it up. So take the last 30 seconds or so to wrap up on the speech. So that should ideally be the structure. But of course, you can vary the structure, but this is something that you can follow on as a beginner, as a table topic speaker. And like I said, you are always allowed to take a few seconds to think about it, think of what you want to talk about, and then get started. So that's completely allowed. Now, keeping these things in mind, the feedback that I have for everyone is as follows. So let me start with Toastmaster Cynthia. Your topic was just three words: green, skip, and cloud. And I think you gave a phenomenal start to it, right? You gave, your introduction was extremely picturesque, where you said that it was a nice sunny morning and you came out with your skipping rope, and suddenly you saw clouds and it was raining. So your main challenge here was to use those three words in your story, and I think you used them beautifully. What you could have done better is you gave us a twist, right? So you could have built up on that twist. So you could have probably generalized that twist, and you could have told us that yes, life also gives us those twists. We might feel that it's a nice sunny morning at one point in life, and suddenly life takes a U-turn, and it completely changes, and that is what life is all about. So life is all about that greenery, that skipping rope, and those clouds. So you're also giving that general message through this small story. Or when you said that you went to work after that, right? So then how did that transition happen? Did you take those lessons when you went to work? And did that morning of you make your work day better, because you started your morning with a workout, with a skipping, and you also saw some sun and some rain? So how did that transition to your work? So you could have taken either of these takes and then given a conclusion, but I think that will come with practice. And I would just like to say one thing: take yourself a little more seriously as a speaker. You just left off that topic, you just say, okay, that's my time and I don't know what to say. I can understand that as a new member, you are probably short of words. But the next time, and I want to emphasize this, you are a great speaker because you started off really well. You use all those three words in your story, and you could have, built up on it and brought it to its deserving conclusion. So try and do that the next time. Otherwise, I think you are a fabulous speaker. You gave it a fabulous start. Just give it that right, deserving conclusion.
Thanks,
Next,
Sandhya.
yeah, welcome, Cynthia. Next, we had Bhuvi, Toastmaster Bhuvi, and your topic was who could be potentially the Neeraj Chopra around you. So, Bhuvi, I think you connected the theme very well with Neeraj Chopra. So you connected the middle classness theme of the meeting with how Neeraj Chopra could be was middle class. So that is one thing I really like. In general, I find you a very confident speaker. You didn't look nervous at all, even for 1 minute, and that I think is a very good trait to have. You're extremely confident. What you could do better is you gave a very long introduction, and I understand that was probably because you were still trying to gather your thoughts and you were thinking where you could, take that speech. And that often happens with table topics at the very beginning. I also do that very often, but try to reduce that as you get more experienced, right? So like I said, it's always fine to take those first 5 to 10 seconds to gather your thoughts and build it in your mind, and then get started. The timer will start only after that. The timer will usually start at your first word or the hand gesture that you make. So always, once the topic is announced, take those first 5-10 seconds to think about what you can say about this and then get started. Of course, not the entire speech might be ready in your head in those first few seconds, but as long as the beginning is ready, you start with that, and then the rest will, of course, follow. So that is something you can think of. And you could also be a little bit more focused on the topic. So your topic was who is potentially the Neeraj Chopra around you. So could you have thought of a person who started from very humble backgrounds and then made it to the next level? So just be focused on that topic rather than trying to cover a lot of things in those 2 minutes, because we cannot do that. So those are the two things that you could try out. But again, things will come with practice. And just like Cynthia, I think you are also an extremely confident and great speaker. So yeah, all the best for the rest of the speeches. Next, we had Toastmaster Mitesh. Mitesh, again, your topic was about middle class values, about do you share soups, 1 by 2 of the soup, etc. I must confess, I was also a little confused about how to understand the topic, but you had your own take. And I think so, as soon as I think Sai said soup, all you could think of is those ready-made soups that we buy in the market and we make them. So I think even if you couldn't understand or the topic very well, just like I could not, you still made a very great attempt, and you were able to speak something on soups for those 2 minutes. And that, I think, is also what table topics teaches us, and that, I think, is a trait of a seasoned speaker, a seasoned Toastmaster, that whatever the topic is, even if sometimes we might not be able to say something relevant to the topic, but still we speak something till that red card hits. And that is, I think, what you did, and you did that very well, Mitesh. So maybe next time you could think of giving your speech a little bit of more structure and trying to think a little bit more about the topic that is given to you. That would be my feedback to you. Coming to Toastmaster Hina, your topic was uh, the difference between value versus price and so on. Again, I thought that you were very confident at speaking. You are a very confident speaker. But my only feedback to you was that you came to the point very late. So you didn't have enough time to give your conclusion. So the next time, be very brief with the introduction and then come to your point. Come to your point well before the green card is shown so that you have enough time to elaborate on it. And then once the yellow card is shown, think of concluding the topic. So try and structure it that way. That would be my main feedback to you. Then coming to guest Rashmi. Firstly, congratulations for attempting a table topic, although this is probably the first meeting that you're attempting. Your topic was on contradictory things that we do as middle class people. And I thought that for a first attempt, your speech was fairly structured. So I must say, I was taken by surprise that it was fairly structured. But again, just like I told Bhuvi, try and focus on the speech. So don't take down too many things. So focus on one or two points. Take those points as contradictory things that middle class do. So try to focus on that and then build it as a conclusion. But I'm sure that it will come to you as you progress as a speaker and as a Toastmaster. And think of those three things that you need: the introduction, the body, and the conclusion, and keep it as focused as possible. Next was Toastmaster Ujjwal. Your topic was, does art have to make sense? Now, the good thing is that you took a few minutes to think about it. And then you got to the topic. You gave your viewpoint on what does it necessarily have to make sense or not. So all those things I liked about you. And you did bring to the conclusion that according to you, art has to make sense. That's your take on it. Now, how could you have done this better? Like I have said, told the others, maybe take one example. Was there an art piece that you actually saw, and what was your take on it? Did it make sense? What sort of sense did it make? So when we take such one or two concrete examples, I think the audience can better relate to what your take about on the topic is, rather than when we just keep it general. So I think you're already on the right track with how to approach table topics. Just the next time, try to think of a couple of examples that you can give, and then give a more broad based or general conclusion on what those examples mean to you. Otherwise, I think very well done. Now let's come on to the seasoned Toastmasters that we've had. So here I think I'm going to keep my feedback very, very precise, other than Mahesh, of course, who attempted last. So we had Toastmaster Manoj, Toastmaster Sunil, and Toastmaster Cyril, all seasoned speakers. So I think Toastmaster Manoj, you wrapped it extremely well. I enjoyed listening to you. Your topic was the drunk on the street versus open bars, and the contrast that you drew with them. You kept one as you also told us how the middle classes are the meat in the sandwich. The drunk on the street were the lower class, and the open bar people in the open bars are the upper class. I loved the metaphors, the analogy that you used there. You also spoke about middle class values like being aspirational and as well as accepting oneself. So those are very true contrasting things, but are unique to middle class, and those are the ones that identify the middle class. They are aspirational, but at the same time, they're probably also accepting of where they are. And that is what would make a middle class person happy. So I think overall, very well attempted. I don't think I have any specific feedback to give you. And you also you were, I think, one of the very few speakers who gave a good summary of your topic as well. So I think that's your attempt was an ideal attempt of a table topic, if I could say that. Next, we had Toastmaster Sunil. Your topic was your favorite destination and where you showed your middle class nature. So again, very well attempted. You told us about Goa and how that is a typical middle class destination, and that is something I think that most of us here identify ourselves as middle class, and we can identify our vacation destination as Goa. A very good example. So I would say that you gave. Uh, and you also told us how it is middle class because it's pocket friendly, so again identifies with the middle class values of being savers and not spenders. But what I thought was one thing that I would say that you could have done better is if you could have given us your own story about what you did in Goa and how that made you middle class. So what sort of trips that you took in Goa that you can think of and which made you middle class? So, for example, did you buck the flight and took the train or took the bus to go to Goa? Or what was that one thing that you did in Goa which you would identify as being middle class? So, if you could have added that some short story about your personal experience, I think that would have made it great. Otherwise, I think just like Manoj, you were absolutely amazing as well. Finally, coming to Toastmaster Cyril, excesses and craziness of the upper class and the lower class respectively. I think very extremely picturesque description of how you felt on your first on that 15 lakh that you got as an investment banker, that first bonus as an investment banker. And I could actually picturize that, visualize that Omega store at Nariman Point, and also that woman selling notebooks. The way you described it was extremely, extremely good. And that is really the contrasting side, unfortunately, of the society that we live in. And we as middle classes come somewhere between that. So you aptly described that struggle of a middle class person. Although you were happy that you were able to reach that Omega store, but you were also sad for that woman. And I think, and your conclusion was, like you said, a class act. You wrapped it up very well. And I do think, just like Manoj, I probably don't have any other feedback for improvement for you. I just loved listening to you. Finally, quickly coming to Toastmaster Mahesh, your question was, what is more valuable than gold to you in the bank? Again, you gave a very good description of what middle classness means to you. But again, I think a little bit of focus on the topic. So here again, if you could have told us, for you, what is more valuable than gold? For example, family might be more valuable than gold to you. So was there a certain time in your life where family was more valuable? Was there a specific incident where you realized that something is more valuable than money? Like Mastercard says, money can buy almost everything, but not really everything, but almost there. So what was that point in your life? So if you could have added that, I think that would have taken your speech to the next level. So with that, I think I conclude my long evaluations of all the speeches. And if any one of you wants something more specific feedback, feel free to get in touch with me. With that, now I would like to call upon the R counter, Toastmaster Sunil, to give us his report. Toastmaster Sunil, over to you.
Sunil is still muted.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. So I have my report ready. I have even posted it on the group. So just in the interest of time, since we are very few members, I think all in all, we had a good rally, and probably all of them did well. I think one major area of improvement, which I feel, is most of them has been using quite a lot of ahas. So probably the ums and the so's or the ifs and buts were not much, but probably like Sai was almost flawless, except for 4 times he used ahas. Cynthia 1 time, and so 2 times. Bhuvi probably has used 7 times the aha. Nitesh 2 times. Hina 3 times. Rashmi again 7 times, aha and so 5 times, and she said 3 times. Ujwal, aha 4 times, but 2 times, and 2 times. Manoj was almost flawless except for 1 aha. Cyril 3 ahas. Mahesh 3 ahas, and so 5 times. And Sandhya, although your evaluation was long, you were pretty, as I said, flawless in other things. But the word aha was used, I mean, the crutch aha was used by you almost 45 times in your evaluation. So that's it from my side. Over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Toastmaster Sunil, for that report. I will keep a note on that. I would now like to invite Grammarian for the day, Toastmaster Cyril, for his report. Please keep it very brief.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. I'm going to keep my video off. I loved listening to all the speakers today. Some excellent words. I found the word somebody used, I think it was Toastmaster Bhuvi. She used the word conformist, budding conformist. Conformist is someone who conforms, who goes with the current, who doesn't fight the current. Bhuvi, I'm not sure whether you said conformist or economist. I think it was economist, but I heard it as conformist.
I used both actually.
Splendid. Conformist is a word that you don't really, you don't get to listen, you don't get to hear too much. Obnoxious, meaning very, very unpleasant. Audacity, both words by Sai. Audacity means extreme self-confidence. Think Ranveer Singh. Obama has a book called The Audacity of Hope. Notion means belief. This was by Sandhya. Decadent. I believe this is by Sai. Decadent. Think of decadent life that Karan Johar has. He's got too much money that there is a decline or a decay in moral or cultural values. When you have too much money, you can do anything that you want. That's called a decadent life. Your cultural values decay. Some good phrases. Born with the silver spoon. I'm hearing that after a long time. Thank you, Sai. Taken by surprise. That's a good way to say that I was surprised. That was by Toastmaster Sandhya. Class act. That was by me. Some not so good use of English. A garden full of greenery. I mean, gardens are usually full of greenery or with a dash of color. Let me open up my camera. Incorrect. Open up my camera literally means unscrewing the camera. Let me switch on my camera. Middle classness. Don't say middle classness. Middle class. Being middle class. One common mistake that all of us make. Last but not the least. It's actually last but not least. We don't use the. It's a very commonly repeated mistake. It's last but not least. Word of the day. Oh my God, highfalutin. I didn't hear many people use it except for Toastmaster Sai. That's it. Lovely meeting. Just to recap: conformist, obnoxious, audacity, notion, decadent were the good words of today. Thank you, and over to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster Cyril, for that comprehensive but very, very enriching report. Zoom Master, if I may, in the interest of time, if I may request you to start releasing the polls already while I give my report of the general meeting, and I'll be very quick at it. Now, while I do this, I request all of you to kindly vote the best table topic speaker for today that you all thought. Whoever was the best speaker, please vote. And also please vote for the best auxiliary role player, the R counter, the grammarian, or the timer. In the meantime, let me give my report of the meeting. The meeting started bang on time as we usually do at BKC Fireflies with the Sergeant at Arms introduction. Then the presiding officer came in, and here I'm going to be a little pompous in praising myself. I think I did a good job as the presiding officer, spoke to guests, spoke about Super September. This is a reminder of Super September to all of you. Please check it out and register and participate in that. And then handed over the meeting to the Toastmaster of the Day, Sai, who was also the table topics master. Table Topics Master, I think you did very well in connecting each of the topics to the theme middle class. And I thought how you were going to do it, but I think you did an excellent job of it. Sometimes what happens is when it's a theme that we choose as the table topics as well, the topics tend to get repeated because they are all related to the same theme. But surprisingly, your topics were so varied that it did not seem repeated at all. Everybody could have a different story on the topic. So that I think was the best part of the meeting. What you could have done a little better was, I'm sure you are aware of this, but the way to announce the topic is you take the name of the person, topic name. That was not done. Please be a little mindful. For those who are new to Toastmasters, how a topic is usually announced is, for example, Toastmaster Sai, middle class Toastmaster Sai. That's how the topic has to be announced, so that it's clear in the minds of the speaker. Another thing that I think we could have done better on is keeping the topics brief. Some of your topics were very long and it took a little while, especially because so many of our members are new and attempting table topics, have attempted or attempting it for the first time. It took a little while for them to think of what the topic actually is. So keep the topic brief in the interest of the members. So that would be my only feedback, I think. Otherwise, I think the meeting was very well conducted and very well done. I also like that you made an attempt to include each and everyone in the meeting and made sure that everyone got a chance to topic without feeling intimidated. That I think was very well handled, and congratulations on that. I would now like to hand over the meeting back to the Table Topics Master to conclude it.
Yes, thank you very much. And I take your feedback, Madam General Evaluator. Yes, I should have done a better job in presenting the topics and keeping them terse. I'm going to take a quick minute to announce the results of the meeting. And I'm going to take a little bit of an executive decision because some of the people who are winning are winning by a small margin, but they've won before. So I'm going to nominate someone else in some cases. The best auxiliary role, auxiliary, am I saying it right? Auxiliary role player for the evening is Toastmaster Sunil, who was the R counter for the evening. His report was quick, to the point, and he got all the messages across. So congratulations, Sunil, on being the best auxiliary role player. The best table topics participant today was, it is a tie, but I'm going to award it to Manoj because it's a tie. And I think this is the first time he's attending a meeting with us. So Manoj, you were judged as the best table topic speaker for the evening. Congratulations on a job well done, on a story well told, and a table topics well responded to. That brings us to the close of the business section of the meeting. I'm going to stop recording and I am going to